Welcome to Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark.
Hello there, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Child Abuse Awareness for Darlene J. Clark. Be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. Hello there, Chris, Danielle, Eric, and Mr. L. Thanks for coming in. We need to get this out there. Operation Summer Heat in Limestone County, Alabama nets 11 arrests for child sexual exploitation. Let me get out. Thank you so much, Chris, for coming in and helping out. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. We need to be sure that we get this notification out there. Operation Summer Heat in Limestone County nets 11 arrests for child sexual exploitation. Without further ado, let me go ahead and share screen. Please hit the thumbs up button. It helps the algorithms. Here, I got it full screen. So the Limestone County Sheriff's Office, that's in Alabama, Criminal Investigation Division, Special Operations Team announced the results of its Operation Summer Heat probe, a multi-day online child exploitation sting conducted over Labor Day week. The program targeted individuals attempting to exploit children through the internet and yielded Program 11 arrests of 36 charges. In February 2024, Sheriff Joshua McLaughlin launched the Millstone Project, a comprehensive program to combat child exploitation. This initiative has trained deputies across all divisions, including CID, Patrol, SRO, Corrections, and Communications, to identify, investigate, and prevent crimes against children online. Since its launch, the Millstone Project has led to nearly 50 arrests over the past 2 years. Operation Summer Heat focused on identifying suspects who engage in sexually explicit conversations with children online, arranged to meet a child for sex, traveled with the intent to commit unlawful sex acts, attempted to purchase sex with a minor, or tried to traffic a child to others. Predators use social media platforms, messaging apps, and online gaming spaces to target both boys and girls. Many suspects arrived prepared not only to exploit children, but also carrying drugs, firearms, and plans to traffic victims beyond Limestone County. The arrested individuals: Joshua Thrower, 26, Gunnersville, Alabama, human trafficking in the first, traveling to meet a minor for a lawful sex act, electronic solicitation of a child. Eduardo Tomas, 19, Athens, Alabama, human trafficking first, traveling to meet a minor for a lawful sex act, electronic solicitation of a child. Deontay Mallory, 26, of Huntsville, Alabama, human trafficking in the first, traveling to meet a minor for unlawful sex act, electronic solicitation of a child. Stacy Lewis, 32, Decatur, Alabama. Human trafficking in the first, traveling to meet a minor for unlawful sex act, electronic solicitation of a child. Anthony Green, 42, of Huntsville, Alabama. Human trafficking in the first, traveling to meet a minor for unlawful sex act, electronic solicitation of a child. I guess that's pronounced Eliga because it's with a G. Redis, 30, of Athens, Alabama. Human trafficking in the first, traveling to meet a minor for an unlawful sex act, electronic solicitation of a child, attempted to elude, possession of marijuana, second, resisting arrest. Lucio Mateos Hernandez, 33, of Mexico. Human trafficking in the first, traveling to meet a minor for an unlawful sex act, electronic solicitation of a child. Now he is ICE detained. Woohoo! Juan Tavares, 24, of Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Human trafficking in the first, traveling to meet a minor for an unlawful sex act, electronic solicitation of a child. Edgar Lopez Solucio, 25, from Mexico. Human trafficking in the first, traveling to meet a minor for an unlawful sex act, electronic solicitation of a child, ICE detainer. Woohoo! Get them gone. You're legal. You don't need to be here unless you come in here legally or on a visa. John Cleveland, and he's really John Cleveland III, age 44, Huntsville, Alabama. Human trafficking in the first, traveling to meet a minor for a lawful sex act, electronic solicitation of a child. Gainer Lopez Hernandez, 33, Mexico. Human trafficking in the first, traveling to meet a minor for a lawful sex act, electronic solicitation of a child, ICE detainer. You go. Woohoo. All suspects are being held without bond in the Limestone County Detention Facility pending an Elias Law hearing before a judge. Additional charges may be forthcoming as the investigation continues. Captain Caleb Durden, Chief Investigations of CID, some of the group came to meet children with firearms, with counterfeit money, with drugs, and even plans to traffic victims to others for sex. Let me be clear. God's children are not for sale. If you attempt to prey on kids in Limestone County, you will face this highly trained, relentless team, and you will be brought to justice. Stay out of our county. How about please going ahead and arresting some of these perpetrators that trafficked around my time because they're still out there trafficking and they're higher up in the community, okay? How about arresting some of these judges, some of these lawyers? Come on. Come on, please. Arrest some of these higher ups who are doing this. Please. Sheriff Joshua McLaughlin, I want to thank our community for your support and recognize the tireless commitment of our deputies and partners who made this operation possible. Together, we prevented predators from reaching our children and removed dangerous drugs, firearms, and materials connected to child exploitation. Let me be absolutely clear. We will not stop. We will chase down every lead, investigate every report, and bring to justice anyone who tries to harm or exploit a child in Limestone County. If you see or suspect something, do not stay silent. Report it to us by phone, email, our Limestone County Sheriff's Office, or our website. You may remain anonymous, but your call could be one that protects an innocent child's life. So let me go to the next one. Here are the guys. 11 men were recently arrested and charged with human trafficking as part of the Limestone County child exploitation ring. It said authorities, let's see. We don't read this right here. Okay, authorities say Operation Summer Heat focused on identifying suspects who engaged in sexually explicit conversations with children online. attempted to meet a child for sex, or tried to traffic a child to others. Here are the people right here. From left to right, the top one is Anthony Green. Then there's Deontay Mallory, Edgar Lopez Solucio, Eduardo Thomas, Elijah Riddis. Let's go down a little bit to see the name. John Cleveland, Joshua Thrower, Lucio Mateos Hernandez, and Stacy Lewis. Somewhere it's messed up right there, okay? I must have missed one. Okay. But I know that one right there is really John Cleveland. There's Joshua Thrower right here. Lucio Matias Hernandez and Stacy Lewis. So that one's got to be Juan Tavares, Gainer Lopez Hernandez. Okay. So let's go to the further to the next step. What we see here. I did a search over here. Here is where Joshua Zolan Thrower, his mugshot. He got the charge 13A6122, electronic solicitation of a child. Arrest date was September the 5th, 2025. Bond set by judge, zero amount. Charge, there's human trafficking and purse. It's September the 5th. Bond set by judge, zero, because it's by a NARS law. They better not be letting these out of jail, right? The charge, traveling to meet a child for an unlawful sex act. Arrest date was the 5th, set by judge, zero. This is Joshua Zolan Thor. I'm making it big enough so y'all can see it better, okay? So let me get that out there. And I went ahead and saved this right here that I wanted to show you as well. This guy, he was a human, it was during a human trafficking investigation. This was August the 2nd. This was Hayel Badelesa, I don't know how to say that name, Badhelesale Hassan. On Saturday, August the 2nd, investigation with the Limestone County Sheriff's Office Criminal Investigation Division concluded a human trafficking investigation with the arrest of Hayel of Hoover, Alabama. So he traveled all the way from Jefferson County in Alabama. Last month, Hassan initiated contact or social media with what he believed to be a male juvenile. The account was operated by a Limestone County Sheriff's Office investigation. During the conversations, Hassan offered cash in exchange for sexual contact with the child and agreed to travel from Hoover to Limestone County to meet the child. On August the 2nd, Hassan arrived in Athens for the meeting and was taken into custody without incident. He has been charged with electronic solicitation of a child, traveling to meet a child for an unlawful sex act, human trafficking, and the first degree. Hassan is currently being held in a Limestone County Detention Center pending a NIAS law hearing at a later date. Okay, and it says, trying to see more right here, sorry. On August 2nd, he arrived in Athens, so we'll go on down. These investigations take time, patience, and dedication. I'm proud of our investigators' work in making the arrest. The commitment to protecting children and holding predators accountable is unwavering. We will continue to do everything in our power to stop those who seek to exploit the most vulnerable among us. Sheriff Joshua McLaughlin. Thank you so much, Sheriff. Here he is where he was Joshua Thrower, where he was arrested in 2024, but it says that he was arrested jail to treatment. Okay, I don't know what that's about. All right. This jail to treatment. All right. Here's Eduardo Santiago Mateo Tomas. Here's his charge. Human trafficking 1, traveling to meet a child for an unlawful sex act, electronic solicitation of a child. Let's get his mug shot up there bigger. There he is right here. Eduardo Santiago Mateo Tomas. Here is Deontay D'Angelo Mallory. There he is right here. Electronic solicitation of a child. He had that, and he had traveling to meet a child for an unlawful sex act and human trafficking the first. Here is his mugshot. Sorry about that. Here is Stacy Jelen DeQuan Lewis. Is booked in Lansing County for electronic solicitation of a child. 32 years old. He also got charged with traveling to meet a child for an unlawful sex act and human trafficking in the first. Here's Anthony Green II. I guess that's what that means when it's got a 2 right there. I don't know. He's booked in Lansing County, Alabama for electronic solicitation of a child. Traveling to meet a child for an unlawful sex act and human trafficking in first. Get his mug up here bigger for y'all to see. Bunch of sickos here. Elijah Shakur Redis. He also got arrested for possession of marijuana in the second. Resisting arrest, attempt to elude by any means, traveling to meet a child for an unlawful sex act, electronic solicitation of a child, and human trafficking in the first. Lucio Esteban Mateos Hernandez. Just imagine there are some real kids out there who they are communicating with, okay? Who are being victimized by these perpetrators and other perpetrators as well. Just remember that. People, watch over your kids, people. Is traveling to meet a child for an unlawful sex act, human trafficking in the first, and electronic solicitation of a child. There he is right there. It is, whoa, that's a pretty big one. Okay, so this is where I had trouble finding him at first. So here's a Tuscaloosa man among those arrested in child exploitation effort. So he was actually from Tuscaloosa. A 24-year-old Tuscaloosa man, Juan Miguel Tavares, is one of 11 men arrested in Lansing County as a result of child sex exploitation sting operation. He has been charged with human trafficking, traveling to meet a minor for an unlawful sex act, and electronic solicitation of a child. According to the Limestone County Sheriff's Office, Operation Summer Heat focused on identifying suspects who engaged in sexually explicit conversations with children online, attempts to meet a child for sex, and tried to traffic a child to others. So we done read a lot of this a little bit ago. So we know how that goes. Now here goes Edgar Walter Humberto Lopez Solucio. Here is his mug. Human trafficking in the first, traveling to meet a child for an unlawful sex act, and electronic solicitation of a child. This is probably one of the ICE detainers. Just further down there. Here is John Franklin Cleveland. Now that's got 3 by that. John Franklin Cleveland was booked in Lansing County, Alabama for traveling to meet a child for an unlawful sex act. He's 44 years old. Look at his mug. Traveling to meet a child for an unlawful sex act, human trafficking in the first, and electronic solicitation of a child. Sicko. Now here's Gainer Lopez Hernandez, age 33, human trafficking in the first, traveling to meet a child for an unlawful sex act, and electronic solicitation of a child. Mug right there. Yep, please be hypervigilant. Hey, hey, how are you doing? Hi, Peggy. Good to see you. Yeah, they are all sick, ain't they? We go up and see what everybody has to say. Hey, Peggy. Good to see you. Thanks for coming here. Had to run and feed the birds and the critters before Buster comes back. He wants a whole jar of peanut butter. That's awesome. Good. Thanks for coming, y'all. There are sick. Yes, you are right. They are all sick. And what's so bad, like I said, that was Limestone County where I was, and so the guy that owned um, a hamburger joint, an ice cream, cream delight, and also an auction house and antique store and all that. He was the one, according to his son, who was an Alabama state trooper who I met years later, that told me, "Oh, I remember you." I said, "From where?" He said, "From all the child porno that his daddy had done." He said that his daddy had over 300 child pornos, and I was in the majority of them. Do y'all know how that affected me when I heard that? My legs went out from underneath my feet, and I literally fell backwards. I had to grab on to the library table, trying to catch myself from going on over. Part of it lifted up and everything because it was such force that it knocked me off my feet. You know, it's horrible. Let's see what. They're sweethearts. Mule deer can be very friendly. Not bad. Yeah, these pedos are pretty bad, ain't they? Good afternoon, Carlene. Good to see you too. Got some more to come. I want some of these bigger fry, like the guys that's involved in that. And I got a feeling that some of the other sheriff who used to be in with the state trooper is probably in with the child pornography as well. There were different, when I lived in Alabama, I noticed that there were other state troopers who were getting arrested for having child porn in the back of their vehicles. So it's like, how many of these were actually um, related or along with him? Because it's sad when I had no choice but to sit there at the table because my legs would not work. Okay, and I said, well, since your daddy's dead, I hope that you disposed of him. And here I was hoping he disposed of him because he's a state trooper, serve and protect, right? But he said no, his daddy had a buddy that loved to sit down with him and watch the child pornos as well, and he gave them half of the child pornos. So where are all the child pornos? How many other kids in the area were there? I mean, there's perfect, in the back room of the auction house. That's where my dad took me and sold me to these stupid men, okay? These sickos, these pedos. And what better thing to have a hamburger joint when there's a lot of kids coming over there? What better place to have but an ice cream place for the people, right? For the kids. Please watch your kids. How many kids were the parents trusted to go over there to get their own ice cream after school? How many people were trusted to sit at the cafeteria over there at the burger joint, and the parents not knowing that that's a pedo right there? There's a child pedophile right here that you're letting your kids stay in that restaurant with a child predator, one that does child pornography. This is sick and disgusting. And then, thanks to Charles Rogers, he said, well, he met a lady up in Tennessee, and she said, well, what about these people, the Greenhalls in Limestone County? I said, you mean to tell me they are affiliated with that? And then it started breaking up even more so than I realized that. And then I started remembering the trafficking in other areas. Okay. So, y'all, don't do this to your children. Please keep an eye on them, respect them. They are a commodity, they are ours to protect. These sickos who are law enforcement that keeps being a predator, I was scared, but my own parents were in with it, you know? That's what's so bad about it. Even though somebody rescued me at one time out from underneath the house after I got beat up from a cult that they did and I let children out of cages, okay? I got beat up for that. But I wanted to save these kids, get out of there, right? I didn't want them to be sacrificed, all right? I ended up beat up, put in a wooden box up underneath the house. Somebody rescued me. I found out that 3 days later, the person that rescued me, I did come upon him again, and he told me what had happened. And because I had a blurred memory, and one of the girls I rescued, I ended up meeting her another time. And she said, I told you to go with me. I said, I couldn't go with you. I couldn't. I lived there. You know, I could not escape to go anywhere because you got to realize in the cult, and these trackers are also in with satanic cults. Okay, these trackers, they're even. Oh man, it's vast. It's horrible. They don't care about children in that way. They care about them sexually as a commodity, as getting money. Okay, they care about them as sacrificial. These are true sickos out there, okay? But the guy said the police found me 3 days later, and he said by that time he got me where I could finally start walking because I was bruised so severely. At first, I could not walk, okay? So he said when the police came, he said, please take her to the hospital. Please do not return her to over there. Please get her some medical help. See, she's so badly bruised and beaten and everything. Guess what the cops did? The cops returned me back to that house without any kind of connotation, without getting me any kind of medical attention. They just delivered me back to that hellhole of where I was left to die up underneath the house. The cops themselves were part of putting me back over there. So y'all, this is really bad and very best. Be sure to protect your kids. And now we could go up to higher authority. If they do not protect your kids in one area, please seek higher ups. Don't just go to the sheriff and believe the sheriff. I know this now as an adult, okay? You can go to the top of the headline, okay? You could go to senators, you could go to governors, you could go to the president, you could go to congressmen. There's got to be somebody that gives it in. You could also go to newspapers, and if the newspapers, maybe they'll do an article on this type of thing. Y'all know what I'm saying? We've got to fight. We can't just give up. We can't just say, okay, they're higher than us. What are we going to do? We cannot give up. If we give up, this helps this problem to continue to grow. Let's be a voice. Let's be united. Let's be there for our children. I think that's the only reason why God let me survive all this. So that I myself, being a victim, can teach some of the things. I hate the fact that these things happen. A lot of people tell me things like, oh, you just want attention. No, I wish this never happened so that I could have had a normal life, right? I wished I could have went on and went to college instead of had these problems I got. I wished I could have been able to work instead of become disabled, physically, all the injuries I got. I don't, nobody will wish this upon themselves, okay? So y'all need to get real. The people that's speaking out about this, you need to listen to them because they need a voice. We need to learn. We need to grow. We need to inspire. There's other people with different stories. We need to hear their stories. Some people don't make it as far. Look at that little boy I did a story on the other day where the mother had killed and drowned him. Come on, people. Come on. They had groomed me since I was born, according to my birth mom. She told me when I was 39 that I was born to be a prostitute. I was born to show my body to men. And I told her, I'm an adult now. I now got a choice. Her last words to me that I ended up hanging up, I wish I would have killed you when you were a baby like I wanted to. Y'all, there are some bad parents out there. I wish to God there had been more people that spoke up and tried to protect. There were police officers. One time, a sheriff took me over to the house, and Daddy said, "No, all them bruises on her is where she fell into blackberry bushes." Okay, and the police officer looked at me and said, "If I ever hear you talking about him again, we're gonna arrest you." So what do, y'all? You as a child know that you're not gonna be heard. And I wasn't even the one that told the police, okay? It was my siblings because a car had backfired while I was at school, and with my daddy shooting at me with a 12 gauge at home. So when I heard the car backfire, PTSD set in, and I ran like a bad egg. Heck, I was in some kind of trance state, whatever. I don't even remember doing it. I was just told that I did it for my siblings, and you know, you go into these states of mind, you either fight or flight, right? Or you fawn. So different particular times I ran because Daddy had that game of hide go seek, and he shot at you if he found you. So y'all, please don't let another child become a statistic. Please watch your surroundings. If you see a child being abused or something, and teach others that help me sign. Wherever you go, sometimes you stop a stranger, right? And you show them, say, hey, do y'all know what a help me sign is? Sometimes when I'm going in town, that's what I do. So, do y'all know the help me sign? And I show them. And I'm pleasantly surprised when I see somebody that does. Exactly. I used to be a little bit intimidated. I got a high school friend, and I had invited her kids over to my house, right? When I was an adult, to play with my kids. She never would, and it kind of hurt my feelings. But I respect the heck out of her for not doing it. You know what I mean? I respect her because she wanted to personally keep an eye on her kids to make sure they would not be harmed. She went wherever they went. She kept a good eye on her. That is a great parent right there. You know? Sometimes we might get our feelings hurt and think that, oh no, but no, you understand the concept. And see some things I didn't realize, she probably didn't realize that it was only gonna be me at home. But sometimes you don't realize what some of the other kids might do as well. She rather kept an eye on the kids. I can't help it. I respect her. It might have hurt my feelings at the time, but no, that's a great parent wanting to protect their children. And I still love her to death. And unfortunately, sometime this year, her oldest child, I mean, her middle child, was walking and crossing medium at Walmart, and a lady read her engine up. She said, claimed she didn't see him, and she killed him. She lost her son. Those kids are such a treasure, a gem. to treat them with respect. And anybody knows anything, y'all see any of these predators, y'all see a predator hurting a kid or something, please report it. You see a guy dragging a kid and the kid acts like it don't belong with that person, it's better to be safe than sorry, right? You might be saving a kid's life from an abductor, you know? You never know, right? Well, thank you all for listening. And God bless y'all.